What if I told you that America's early success in Afghanistan didn't come only from its special forces or superior technology, but from unexpected allies, men once seen as outlaws and warlords? This is the untold story of how local Afghan warlords became America's unexpected heroes. After 9/11, the world changed overnight. The United States, still reeling from the attacks on its soil, turned its attention to Afghanistan, the base of Al-Qaeda and the Taliban regime that harbored them. The world expected a massive invasion with tanks, soldiers, and overwhelming air power. But what actually happened was far more surprising: a secret, fast, and unconventional campaign led by America's special forces and powered by unlikely local allies. Those allies were Afghan warlords, men who had fought each other for decades, controlled territories with small armies, and ruled through complex tribal loyalties. Yet in late 2001, they would become the key to one of the fastest military victories in modern history. The question is, how did sworn rivals and mountain fighters become America's heroes? Let's uncover the story. In the days following 9/11, the U.S. faced a difficult challenge. How do you attack a hidden enemy in one of the world's toughest terrains? Afghanistan wasn't like Iraq or Kuwait. There were no clear battlefields, no easy access roads, and no modern infrastructure. The Taliban knew the land, the tribes, and the mountains better than anyone. So instead of sending in tens of thousands of soldiers immediately, the Pentagon and CIA chose a new strategist: small teams of elite special forces paired with local Afghan fighters who knew the enemy and terrain intimately. This was the start of an alliance that would shock the world. Deep in northern Afghanistan, one name stood out: General Abdul Rashid Dostum, a powerful Uzbek warlord known for his fierce tactics, shifting loyalties, and unmatched influence. He controlled vast territories and commanded thousands of men, many of whom had fought the Taliban for years. When America, as Green Berets from the 5th Special Forces Group, landed in his territory in October 2001, they didn't know what to expect. Would Dostum trust them? Would he help them? Or would he hand them over to the Taliban? To everyone's surprise, Dostum welcomed them. He saw as shared goal the removal of the Taliban regime that had taken control of his country, and so began one of the most unusual partnerships in modern military history: U.S. Special Forces working hand in hand with Afghan warlords, in a scene that felt like a mix between medieval warfare and modern technology. American soldiers rode horses alongside Afghan fighters. They crossed frozen mountains, carried satellite radios, and used laser designators to call in airstrikes. It was something no one could have predicted. America's most advanced military, working with tribal fighters, using centuries-old tactics. But together, they achieved the impossible. Within weeks, the Taliban front lines began to collapse. Villages, once under Taliban control, were liberated. The Northern Alliance, backed by U.S. Special Forces, advanced rapidly toward Kabul. By December 2001, the Taliban regime had fallen all within just 60 days of the first Special Forces landing. This alliance wasn't just about weapons. It was built on trust, respect, and mutual survival. The U.S. forces depended on the warlords for local intelligence, guides, and translators. In return, the warlords relied on U.S. technology and air power. Green Beret Captain Mark Nutch once described how Dostum personally led charges on horseback, guiding his men with unmatched bravery. The Americans respected his courage. The Afghans admired the Americans' discipline and precision. Slowly, an unspoken brotherhood formed out of politics, but necessity. While the world celebrated quick victories, behind the scenes, politics got complicated. Many Afghan warlords had rivalries with each other. They wanted power, land, and influence in the new Afghanistan. For the U.S., working with them was a delicate balance game. Their help, without allowing them to reignite old conflicts. But without their cooperation, progress would have been impossible. They weren't perfect allies, but they were essential ones. The truth is, many of these Afghan commanders risked everything. They provided intelligence, manpower, and local legitimacy that America could never have achieved alone. In remote valleys, Afghan fighters fought side by side with U.S. Special Forces, often facing Taliban ambushes with minimal support. Many of them died without recognition. Their bravery helped shape the early victories of the war, and even American officers acknowledged it. As one Special Forces veteran said, "Without the local warlords, we wouldn't have taken Kabul that fast. They were the key." They became in every sense America's unexpected heroes. As time passed, the alliance faded from headlines. The war continued, politics changed, and new leaders emerged. But the memory of those early partnerships remained legendary among soldiers who were there. The U.S. military learned vital lessons about working with local allies, understanding tribal politics, and combining technology with human intelligence. These lessons influenced future operations in Iraq, Syria, and Africa. The story of Afghan warlords and U.S. Special Forces remains one of the most extraordinary collaborations in modern warfare, a mix of strategy, necessity, and raw courage. If stories like this fascinate you where strategy meets survival, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. More untold missions, alliances, and real-life war stories are coming soon. Years later, many of those local warlords were sidelined or forgotten as international politics shifted. Some were accused of corruption or power abuse. Others faded into exile. Yet, their role in changing the early course of the war can't be erased. For the soldiers who fought beside them, those men weren't just warlords, they were partners, guides, and sometimes saviors. In declassified accounts and soldier memoirs, these stories keep resurfacing about the dusty villages, the frozen passes, the strange brotherhood between a U.S. commando and an Afghan commander. The alliance with Afghan warlords proved one thing: understanding local culture and power structures can win wars faster than pure force. Instead of fighting the Afghan way, the Americans adapted. They fought with Afghans. That cultural intelligence became a powerful weapon. It also showed the limits of foreign intervention. Alliances are fragile, and loyalties can shift. Yet in 2001, for a brief moment, enemies of yesterday became allies of today, united by one goal: to defeat the Taliban and rebuild their homeland. Today, when we look back, Afghanistan stands once again at a crossroads. The U.S. is gone, the Taliban has returned, and the warlords' legacy remains controversial. Some see them as opportunists, others as patriots who helped drive out tyranny when it mattered most. But history remembers one undeniable fact: without those local warlords, the early U.S. campaign might have taken years, not weeks. They were not perfect men, but in the fog of war, they became the heroes no one expected. And as we close this chapter of history, one truth still echoes through the mountains of Afghanistan. Afghanistan isn't, always has been, the graveyard of empires.